So I found this clip with Alex O'Connor having a conversation about what could bring him to Christianity. Like, what would it take for him to come to Christianity? And he makes some very significant points most atheists don't understand. Something that he even didn't understand at one point, but he gets it now.
I feel like, for whatever reason, a logical argument isn't necessarily going to be the thing ultimately that draws someone like Tom or whoever to. It's always going to be about something hits you,
Sure,
in the way that makes sense for you, and it might be absolutely not make sense for Alex O'Connor.
I agree.
This point is probably the most important point of this conversation. You see, he acknowledges, and Alex agrees, that what brings someone to God might not bring someone else to God. There is no master key. Everyone has their own key. The issue is a lot of disbelievers believe there is a master key. This is why they always ask somebody like me, who is a former atheist, what brought you to God? They have this expectation that if I tell them what brought me to God, maybe it'll be convincing enough to bring them to God. This is a completely gross misunderstanding, and one of the biggest barriers between disbelief and belief. Until you can scratch that presupposition off your list, you're probably wasting my time.
So I guess my final question is, what can you imagine what that would be for you, Alex, if it were to ever happen?
Well, it would probably be some kind of inexplicable experience that felt a little bit eerie, that felt sort of a bit too uncanny to just be put down to chance. That if I told anybody else, they would say is, well, that's a bit weird, but probably they sort of look at me with a bit of suspicion. But if it was enough to convince me, it would be enough to convince me. I mean, I certainly don't think I'm going to discover God at the bottom of a microscope or the end of a syllogism. And I don't think I'm supposed to either. I say it all the time that the Bible does not contain any syllogisms, not one, anywhere. Clearly, if there's a way that this is supposed to be done, it can't be that. It's got to.
Alex has come a long way. Him acknowledging that you won't find God at the end of a microscope and that you won't find God at the end of a syllogism proves to me he is leaps and bounds beyond where he started. I think most disbelievers believe God can be found at the other end of a well-articulated argument. Alex now is in a position to acknowledge that that isn't the case. He's basically saying he needs some sort of kind of a supernatural type experience. Something that if he shared with someone else, they might look at him like, it's kind of weird. This is why asking someone what convinced them is an illogical question, because that's irrelevant to you. My only pushback with Alex is that in my own personal experience, I didn't start experiencing these weird things, these weird messages, until after I accepted the idea of God being true. I kind of hovered in a space of ambiguity because I didn't know which religion, which God. I just humbled myself enough to be like, wait, man, I think God is real. Once I said that and actually believed it, then things started kind of showing up little by little. Things I would see and be like, that's a big coincidence. You'll start seeing a lot of coincidences. You'll have a conversation with someone about God or something very specific. And then all of a sudden you're scrolling on your timeline and someone is addressing that very specific talking point. Then you'll get a random text from someone that you haven't spoken to in probably a few months, and they're having a conversation and randomly they bring up that very specific talking point. And that's just an example. Everyone can have their own example. But this is the key thing he mentioned I think is very important.
That's why I think the conversation has shifted. New atheism is characterized by by the primacy of rationalism and skepticism, whereas now the reason why new atheism has grown old and secular thinkers are considering Christianity again is
To quote the subtitle of the book.
is probably partly due to the fact that the conversation has shifted from one of like, is the Kalam argument sound, to questions of beauty, questions of architecture. It's about the social stuff, like the beauty stuff that we were just talking about. That's what people care about now. I mean, we haven't talked about arguments of God's existence
No, we haven't.
for this whole conversation.
Nobody's talking about God anymore. We're talking about the cultures of people that claim to follow God. People are measuring God by what humans do. 95% of atheism isn't even about whether or not God exists anymore. It's about whether or not I want to be associated with these people that claim to follow God. That's it. People aren't looking at Christianity as a bridge or a medium between humans and God. People are looking at Christianity as if Christianity itself is the God. The inability to make that distinction is telling. Fortunately, Alex does have the ability to make that distinction. Most atheists don't. People look at Christianity like a club. Oh, do I like what the club members do? If I do, I'll join them. I'll get hazed or whatever. But if I don't like what they do, then I'll go join another frat. I spent 15 years as an atheist, another 10 as an agnostic. So I've been in this seat. Once I finally was able to understand and make the distinction, my journey started. Until that distinction is made, you are running in place, I promise.